Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to our sixth update video for the Obelisk. In this video, we have some exciting news. First of all, we're talking about the release of our AI auto trading agent specifically built for Clanker tokens. We'll be going over some code updates. There's not too much. And we'll be focusing on this really exciting new workflow that has been making some profits. If you guys have been following us on our Telegram, it has been making some profits with a very simple strategy. And we'll show you guys how to create your own agent, how to deploy your own auto trading agent so you can also start taking advantage of AI trading. So let's get right to it, guys. All right, first, just a really quick code overview. Again, we haven't really changed anything when it comes to the structure. We are stabilizing the beta release right now, version 0.20, and all the code remains the same. We have the core engine in this TS folder, which has the TypeScript code, which we've converted. This is where the core Obelisk agent engine lives. We also have the UI, which is where the UI is working right now for the workflows and connections and visualizing everything and serializing the workflows. It's just like before. And we have in our SRC folder, this is the old inference. We still have this inference server, which is running locally if you want to run it locally on your machine. But in production, it hooks up to our own inference server, a GPU server. So this is just about the code. All these extra nodes that we are adding, especially with the Clanker, they all are going into the nodes folder inside of core. Execute. So you have to dig into here a little bit, but right here in the nodes, you have all of these Clanker nodes, launch summaries. So let's get right into the interesting part for those of you guys that want to set up your own AI Clanker agent. So this is kind of the basic workflow right now. It will change. Again, if you want to deploy it, you simply hit the deploy button and you need to set up some variables. First of all, you set the Telegram chat ID. You need to find your own Telegram chat ID, which is just the group ID number. Then you also need to set the Telegram bot token, which is going to specify which actual bot is going to use. So right now, the Telegram bot token is built into this buy notify feature, but on the release, you will have to input your own Telegram bot token ID here. So just a couple of variables. Also, you will need to put your private key right here into the swap private key in order for the agent to have access to your wallet. So let me just go over this workflow. It looks complicated. The way to read these workflows is just left to right. Think of it as a data pipeline. So it looks complicated, but you just take it one step at a time. The way this is kind of structured is three layers. You can think of it as three separate layers to this workflow. Let's talk about the first one, which is the basic one. The very first layer is the actual inference layer, where it does the detection and sees if it wants to buy a token. How does it work? Well, okay, it starts with a scheduler node. So every 10 seconds is going to trigger this memory loop, this loop in a way. Every 10 seconds is going to trigger a balance checker. First, we're going to check the wallet, your wallet's balance. As you can see, the wallet is hooked up to this balance checker, which is going to check, do you have enough money to trade? If you don't have enough funds, in this case, a minimum ETH amount, especially with gas fees, you need to have some ETH amount. Well, in that case, it's going to return a false, and this Boolean logic node will just terminate. So it's not going to go through, so it's going to stop early, which is what we want. We don't want to hit the inference server when we don't have enough funds or there's some issue. So that's the first step here. We do a balance check before anything. After this balance check, if it does pass, see the result, if it does pass, then we trigger the Clanker launch summary. So as you can see, it happens via a trigger. Again, it needs some information like the state, the blockchain configuration, which is the blockchain service, which we also included in the code. I forgot to mention, but we also have this blockchain service we added. All you need for this is an RPC URL. And that's right here, an RPC URL. Do not use mainnet. It's not going to work. So you can get one from Alchemy. You can get one from QuickNode. There's a lot of providers for RPCs. They're very cheap. You can get a free plan. It is very efficient. So you'll be able to run it a good amount. So that is just back to the code. So this is a blockchain service. So it does need information about the blockchain service. Specifically, it needs the state. It needs the state file. It needs to figure out where is all this information stored. So the blockchain service, what it does is it reads data from the blockchain and stores it. So the rest of our components can utilize it. So the Clanker launch summary, it looks at the actual data and it summarizes the information for the LLM. It takes in some recent launches, the volume, the price details. So this will be populated when you do run this. Okay, so once that happens, you have the Boolean logic, and it kind of happens that if there is no summaries, in this case, it does a filter inside of this node. If there's no tokens that have enough volume or any recent launches, it will just simply skip. It will output a false, has tokens. You see here, output a false. And this will do an AND logic. And if it doesn't pass, it won't trigger the rest of this flow. So it's just a little bit more of a efficiency thing where we filter out, where we just don't do any inference, we don't proceed if there is not any tokens in the first place, right? So the LLM, we don't really need to run it if we can manually figure out there's no tokens with no volume. We don't need to do inference for that. Right, so the Boolean logic kind of filters this out, and now you have the actual inference. So at this point, you have enough balance, and you have some recent launches that have enough volume, as we call them candidates. We have some candidates for sniping or purchasing or buying them. But in this case, it will do an inference and it will have the model decide. So this is a prompt right now. It is okay. It works pretty decent. It gives you some, it's hard to read. You can take a closer look at it when it is live. It just tells the model that you can either give it an action to buy a token or you can say no action. So there's only two real outputs the model can do, either a buy action or no action. You can think of it like a skills MD file. Maybe you're defining, you could technically route this. Right now it goes through our inference node or your local node, which is 100% free. But you could easily just hook this up to a state-of-the-art model like ChatGPT or OpenCloud, literally one node, they'll just modify it because you're just sending a certain query. And with some configurations, you can easily do that with any API. We can even do Mistral AI. It's relatively cheap if you want a nice like budget. Mistral AI, I recommend that one. But ChatGPT and OpenCloud, they are good, but you don't need any crazy logic because we're kind of providing all the infrastructure for it. So anyway, this one will decide whether to buy or not. Now, this is where it just takes note for debugging, and the action router is what does the routing. So it will either decide to do a buy, and it will follow through with a buy, or if there's no action, it'll just stop there. So it's not going to do anything. So if it gets some information and the model decides not to buy, it will just say, no, thank you, we're not going to buy anything, and nothing happens. But if it does decide to make a buy, we have the Clanker buy right here, the Clanker buy node, which is going to make the actual buy. Uses a blockchain service. As you can see, it's going to be hooked up to the blockchain config. It uses the blockchain service to make the buy, and then it stores some information into a state file, which is why it needs the state, which is also the wallet state. Sorry, the state is for the wallet state, but it will store the result. The action logger is what we need, an extra layer here. So after it does the buy, it will send a notification to Telegram, and it will also log this action. So this is the main, the hardest part of this flow. If you followed along so far, congratulations, because the other two parts are much simpler. So this is the main flow. You first have a balance check, followed by a launch summary where it checks for any candidates. Then it does inference, and then it decides whether to buy, makes the purchase, and logs it. Nice and simple. Now the second loop here is we have the scheduler node that runs every 5 seconds. Now in real strategy, you probably don't need to do this every 10 seconds. If you want to save some credits and just have it be a little more normal, I guess, not as fast, you can set it to like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, every 10 minutes. The idea isn't to snipe right off the launch. You could set it to every 1 second if you want to try and really be quick about it. You could do whatever you want, but the kind of this is built more for a little more of a global look, global overview. We're going to hook up like Go Plus security API calls and some X API calls where you can scan some more information about tokens, where you can do we can really utilize the LLM for a more comprehensive overview. Not right now, we're simply looking at on-chain data. Technically, we don't really even need to use the LLM for this, but we've built it in such a way to where you can easily expand this in any way you'd like. So for now, it's just super simple V1 trading, no cost, because the more API you add, the more API calls you add, we're going to either need to host it ourselves and for you guys to connect to it, which is what we're going to do with the blockchain servers. So instead of you guys having to have your own RPC URL, we're just going to host a blockchain service that will provide all the information you need. So any bot can hook up to it, and we can essentially this will be 100% free to run. All right, let's
Nice.
get back to on track. So this scheduler node every 5 seconds, it's a bag checker, as you can see here. It checks the bags. It checks your holdings. And where does it store the holdings? As you see here, the action logger. But really inside of the Clanker buy, it will store it. It will store that it made the purchase into into a bags file. So the bag checker would check this state path. So because the Clanker is configured with the blockchain config, it shares the same state file. Essentially, it shares the same memory. And that's why we can have the bag checker access the same memory that the Clanker buy uses and figure out the current holdings. And the way we set here is we have a profit target and a stop loss. It's in the code, but we'll let you guys define it. And the idea is right now it's set to about, I think, 20% profit target or 10% stop loss. Anytime it detects some movement here, it will automatically sell. So its only job is to sell, and it will sell everything, all your bag, and it will update the information so that the other so that you know that your bags are sold and it will send some message. So update bags and sell. Very important here. And the other thing is the sell notify here also. So you see the sell notify is it will also when it gets the result from the sell, it's two things that happen. It will update the bags in the memory so the internal state can update, and it will also send this notification, which also uses Telegram. Now we were gonna use a Telegram node for this and these two, the buy notify and sell notify, but for now it's just built in. All right. So this is the Clanker cell. And the last part, which is important here, is the AutoTrader stats listener. So this one opens up an HTTP endpoint when you deploy the bot, and it allows you to read the current state of your bot, the last actions, the current holdings, and it's just a basic dashboard style overview for your bot, and that's all it does. Just these three nodes. It will listen for a request to get some stats. Then it will use this node to grab the stats from the state file, which everyone uses, and then output it nicely through an HTTP response. Very simple, nothing crazy here. So that's why I'm saying this is just three separate layers as a data pipeline. So I hope this kind of goes over it. This can be easily modified and updated. Again, all the code is fully open source, and you guys can easily clone the repository and ask the AI or ask Cursor to modify any of these nodes to your liking. The idea is we just try to build a platform for you guys, and we would love for anybody who does make some adjustments and maybe make some improvements to this. If you guys, we're more than happy to have you contribute to our main repo and just grow this platform together. I think AI is moving forward really fast, and I think platforms like this not only do they help visualize the actual flow, because without visualizing this, how would you explain this? How would you reason about the different logic paths, and how would you optimize it? It's a lot easier to optimize the different logics here, and when you actually see everything laid out in a visual format. So the last thing I want to talk about, guys, as always, is the NFTs. So this is the Obelisk platform. We're gonna have our main token launch happen soon. Once we get a couple more agents, get some hype. We're also doing a huge update for the Cabal website, which we'll talk about maybe in the next video. And as always, we have some NFTs here still on the marketplace available. This one specifically here is stage 1, 0.01 ETH. Remember, these guys will get reflections. So at 2% LP fee, each NFT will get about 0.02% in reflections. So if you do the calculations, at least if you get about 500K, 300K worth of volume, this NFT will more than pay for itself. So we highly recommend you guys grab one of these NFTs, because once the token does launch, the owners of these NFTs will get reflections automatically deposited to their wallet through the Uniswap V4 hook. As always, guys, please follow us on X, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Based Cabal, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.